House.
What's up, guys? I'm Redman, creator of the Maximum Wesker series and the Ultimate Bioweapon. If you're watching this before you've seen those, stop this video now and go watch them. Anyhow, this is part 1 of a 2-part Wesker introduction series designed for both new and advanced Wesker players. I'll be showing the origins of Wesker's moves, some new discoveries I've made, as well as exclusive frame data that you won't find anywhere else. When I'm done with the introduction series, I'll be doing a combo tutorial series, as well as some other stuff that I can't talk about just yet. This is Red House, Episode 1. Enjoy. Alright, so anything noted in green will represent Wesker's shades being fully intact. This is Wesker's default state, in which he deals the overall least damage and has the slowest recovery on basically all of his moves. A few of his moves have more startup frames as well. These two facts cause Wesker to have limited combo potential and more precise timing in this condition. Also worth mentioning is the light phantom move travels the farthest in this condition. I'll show comparisons of all 3 phantom move distances in a little bit. Once Wesker acquires 200k damage, his shades become cracked. This condition will be represented by the color orange. Once the shades are damaged, Wesker is given a 5% speed boost, which allows for a few more combo possibilities and gives a little leniency to the timing of his combos. He's also given a 10% damage boost. Wesker's projectile counter, or as I like to call it, the Tetsuzonko, travels the farthest in this condition. The same is true for both the medium and heavy versions of the phantom move.
Damage!
And lastly, my personal favorite, no shades, which will be represented by the color red. Wesker's shades fall off once he receives 400k damage, or they can be removed by choice with the use of Phantom Dance. In this condition, Wesker is given a 10% speed boost and a 15% damage boost. With the speed boost in hand, Wesker's maximum combo potential is unlocked. The speed boost also affords the most lenient timing with his combos. Something else to keep in mind is all 3 of Wesker's phantom moves travel the shortest distance in this condition, but they also have the fastest recovery. Alright, as I said earlier, the light phantom move travels the farthest when Wesker's shades are on. It travels far enough from a full screen distance to hit with crouching medium and crouching heavy. When the shades are damaged, Wesker gets a little less distance, but can still connect with both of those moves. But with shades off, neither of those moves will connect. Now for the medium phantom move. For some reason, this one travels the farthest when the shades are cracked, and quite a bit shorter when they're off, but he recovers a lot quicker. The same is true for the heavy phantom move, with shades off pulling up the rear, but the difference isn't really enough for it to matter. The air phantom moves, however, all travel the same distance regardless of Wesker's condition. The only difference is the recovery frames. The air H phantom move has a range of recovery frames for each condition because Wesker recovers a little faster the closer he is to the ground. Alright, now I'm going to talk about the Cobra Strike. The Cobra Strike is a hard knockdown and is done by pressing quarter circle light. When you land the Cobra Strike, you have the option of canceling into any 3 versions of Phantom Move by pressing light, medium, or heavy immediately after Wesker hits the opponent. This works on blocking opponents as well, but the Cobra Strike must make contact with the opponent in order to cancel into anything. You can also cancel this move into Phantom Dance, or into the level 3, Lost in Nightmares, which is by far the most badass name of any super in any game. However, does anyone ever wonder where the fuck does Wesker get that rocket? Well, I don't know where he gets it, but the dude catches fucking rockets, so it's really anyone's guess where it actually comes from. Oh, and that slick landing animation after Lost in Nightmares and the aerial H phantom move? Shit. Alright, anyhow, take a look at this animation. And now let's see it in Resident Evil 5. Same name. And there you go. Oh, and get this. It even does a hard knockdown. Alright, now moving on to Wesker's S. The typical thing you normally see after an S is pretty cool. But I like to use this move a little differently. I like to call an assist right before launching the opponent. At this point, you can super jump cancel into any of Wesker's special moves. In this case, I use Jaguar Kick. The enemy doesn't get launched into the air, but is still technically in launch state since I hit them with the S. And if you hit your opponent with a jump S before they hit the ground, you get a nice hard knockdown like this. Here's a similar example with Doom's Plasma Beam. This technique works with a large variety of assists. I think canceling into teleports looks pretty awesome personally. This one should look familiar. This, however, will not work with Slant Shot, Hyper Grab, and Web Roll, to name a few. And as you can see, I made a complete chart showing every Capcom and Marvel assist that will work with this technique. I didn't include Wolverine and Beautiful Joe in this chart because they're the only characters without compatible assists. And in case anyone didn't know, it's not possible to super jump cancel an S against a blocking opponent. Alright, time for another lesson on the origin of Wesker's moves. Take a good look at that scoop. And now this one. And of course, this move is not called S in Resident Evil 5. It's called the Tiger Uppercut. And I know it's not the same Tiger Uppercut we all know and love, but it does look pretty tough and shares the same name and animation as Wesker's counter in Marvel. If you never noticed, Wesker's S and Tiger Uppercut are the same body position, you're just looking at his face instead of his ass. Anyhow, the Tiger Uppercut is done by pressing back Shoryuken light. It's used to counter high and mid attacks and puts the enemy into the launch state. This move works extremely well against raw meteor smashes. I do that shit all day. It's also pretty good against Frank's knee drop, Hulk's H, Helmbreaker, and Vajra. However, it doesn't work against the Vajra assist. Alright, now I gotta tell you some shit about Wesker's other two counters. All three counters have the same name, Tiger Uppercut. I got beef with this. For one, the medium and heavy counters are not uppercuts of any fashion. Not only that, but those two counters are the only moves Wesker has that are not from Resident Evil 5. They are carried over from a different game, Street Fighter 4. So the new name for Wesker's medium counter is the Fragrance Palm. No, not because of that stink cloud surrounding Wesker at all times. Beautiful counter! But because this animation is exactly the same as Rufus' forward heavy punch, the Fragrance Palm. The Fragrance Palm is back Shoryuken medium, it counters low attacks, and it performs both a wall bounce and a hard knockdown. This is Wesker's worst counter in my opinion because it's normally pretty tough to predict an enemy doing a low attack. It does have some uses though. Are you kidding me? Such as Sentinel's crouching medium and sliding moves like Magneto's crouching heavy, Hawkeye's slide, and Frank's slide. Alright, now for my personal favorite counter, the Tetsuzonko. This name and animation originates from Yun's shoulder move in both Street Fighter 3 and Street Fighter 4. The Tetsuzonko is back Shoryuken H, it counters projectiles, and performs a wall bounce, as well as a hard knockdown. So not only is this my favorite counter, but it's also Wesker's most useful counter in my opinion. I say this primarily because you have more time to react to a projectile coming at you than a close-up physical attack. This move travels a pretty good distance, but the distance varies depending on the condition of Wesker's shades, as you can see here. Something cool about this move is, if you're relatively close to the opponent, the counter will hit on the opposite side of him, making it pretty tricky to block. So, you guys ready for some new tech? Alright, well, in a nutshell, I was determined to find a way to combo into this counter, no matter how impractical. I just wanted to see what would happen. I had a feeling the game wouldn't really know what to do since a counter isn't meant to be comboed into. It turns out that my prediction was right. The scenario I set up for this was turning on all guard, having an opponent Wesker call Morrigan's Soul Fist, and then Jaguar Dash. So I quickly hit with a crouching H into Ghost Butterfly, and then countered the Soul Fist as the other Wesker was still falling. What I originally thought would happen here was a forced wall bounce. I know that doesn't even exist, but it was the only possible glitch I could imagine. This is what happened. The combo, hit stun, and damage scaling are all reset. The only thing that doesn't get reset for some reason is the wall bounce. Here's another example, this time without any pauses or slowdowns. And another one using the super jump cancel technique I talked about earlier. The same thing happens in X Factor as well. There is something very strange about this glitch though. Sometimes the reset doesn't happen, and it carries on like a normal combo. Here's a side-by-side comparison of the frame before the move hits, as well as the first frame that the move makes contact. The position of the opponent Wesker is basically the same, so I'm not really sure why this happens. You see the number 2 start to go away the instant Wesker hits, which means for whatever reason this move can occasionally cause pretty much a full reset when comboed into. I realize this is a very situational event, as well as highly impractical, but it's Marvel and anything can happen, so I don't want to see any comments about it. Okay, that's it for episode 1. I'll be going over the rest of Wesker's moves in episode 2, which should be released shortly. Until then...
How about a nice, greasy pork sandwich served in a dirty ashtray?